Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to Video Game Therapy. It's Rob. In this episode, we're talking about Xbox and E3 2019. Yes, you can say, Rob, it's a bit overdue. It is actually a bit overdue. Why? Because I am busy. We'll just go with that word. Did Xbox deliver at E3 2019? I have a list of things, and it's broken down by games, studio acquisitions, third-party releases, services, and then Project Scarlet, and then my final thoughts. Now, before I start going through this list, before the comments bombard and say, you're such a Sony fanboy, that may be true. I am a big fan of Sony, mainly because of their first party exclusives, but I was very hopeful for Xbox this year. They had an opportunity with PlayStation not being there, but I don't want to spoil anything. I'm just going to get into it. Did they deliver at E3 2019? No, not at all. And an argument can be made that next year's the big one. Next year's the one where we're going to see the release of PS5, maybe. We're going to see the release of Project Scarlet, which we'll get into in a little bit. We're getting closer and closer to next gen and some of the bigger games of the year. It could be said that they're saving things for next year, but why even show up? Why didn't they just do the same thing that PlayStation did? So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but let's just start from the beginning. Games. They talked about some games. It was announced that Xbox had 14 first-party exclusive games coming down the pipeline. But, of course, we only heard about two of them. Those two were Gears 5 and Halo Infinite. For Gears 5, we got to look at a PvE mode called Escape. It actually showed a little teaser. And then we got gameplay later on outside of the conference. But, again, the big flagship titles for Xbox, Gears 5 and Halo Infinite. They talked about both of them. Gears 5, new PvE mode, Halo Infinite. All they practically said was that it is going to be released alongside the new console next gen, and then maybe a little teaser here. These are the flagships. This is like an opportunity, because the thing is, if we want to go down and talk about what's the most important thing at E3, what's the most important thing for any developer to be talking about, any big first party companies to talk about. It's not about the console, it's about the games. And the big games that they had was Gears 5 and Halo Infinite, and they didn't show anything, or they just didn't show anything that we wanted to even know about. No one really cares amongst the Gears 5 community about the PvE mode at all. They want to know about the story. They want to see a little bit of the story gameplay. We didn't get any of that. Halo Infinite, why even mention it? If you're just letting us know, hey, gotta wait a little longer because it's coming out for next gen, next holiday season, 2020. What's the point in even bringing it up? There's no point at all. They should have just kept this to themselves and make a big splash about it next year. On top of all that, Xbox acquired 5 brand new studios, and they showed nothing from them. I understand that they just acquired them, but none of them had anything in development before the acquisition. Like, none of these studios had nothing that they were working on before the acquisition. Like, are they keeping all this under wraps until next year? Like, do they want to just the big splashes next year? If that's the case, then why even show anything at all? Because, and I'm going to get into my next point, which is the third-party releases. Why even, like, none of their games that they showed at Xbox, none of their first-party titles were even that big of a deal to cause such a shakeup within news and within pop culture, that going into my next point, the third-party releases, I don't even want to go down every single game that they announced, because that's really not the point of this episode. The point is if Xbox delivered, and here's one of my main points, and it's a thing that kind of shows how non-existent Xbox first-party or anything Xbox related was at E3, because the biggest splash that came out of Xbox's conference was a third-party game. Not even a third-party exclusive, just a third-party game. Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk could very well have just made their own video on the side discussing the new, a teaser, and then showing the big surprise at the very end, which was Keanu Reeves involved in the game. That blew up more than anything on the conference. That eclipsed everything that Xbox was even talking about. It even eclipsed them even talking about Project Scarlet. Like, that's a big problem. If that is what came out of that entire conference was a third-party game, that's not even exclusive to the platform itself. I don't want to go too much into Cyberpunk. I mean, it was a big deal, but that night after the conference was done, I was going on to just all my news feeds. I was on Twitter. I was on YouTube. Every single thumbnail, every single post was all about how crazy is Keanu Reeves being involved in Cyberpunk 2077. That's a big problem to have. The fact that not even Halo Infinite was the biggest thing, or even Gears 5 was the biggest thing, or anything in regards to any of their first parties was the biggest thing. Not even their studio acquisition of Double Fine Studios. I'm happy for Double Fine. They're a great studio. Psychonauts, Broken Age, Grim Fandango. All those games are fantastic games, and for Xbox to acquire them is huge and a huge get for Xbox alone. But that didn't even make that big of a splash in comparison to Keanu Reeves, which my thoughts on Keanu Reeves being in Cyberpunk 2077 in and of itself is a bigger topic that I want to discuss on a later note, with big actors seeming to start making their way into video games. Not bad, but that's a discussion of stuff that I want to have. But that's a big problem for Xbox. Next, they talked about services. They talked about an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. It's kind of a combination of both Game Pass and Gold put together. I know that they're having some sort of deal going on right now, $1 a month. That's a huge deal. The services that Xbox has are by far the greatest thing that they have going for them. It's something that I wish PlayStation had. It's something that I wish even Nintendo can kind of have, even though they're sort of doing that. But I mean, Nintendo's doing the same thing as Gold and PlayStation Plus. Xbox Game Pass is by far the coolest service that any studio can bring, and they're knocking it out of the park with it. That in and of itself is a reason why I would encourage people. Should I get an Xbox? Yes, because of the Game Pass. It's the greatest value you can ever have. And I know for a fact that they are leaning in the direction, and they're trying to get into the point where Game Pass and Gold are just one thing, and they don't have to pay for two separate things. It's just one price. So I can see that that's where they're going with this. And it's a great way to slowly transition people into that. I think it's a smart move on their part. $1 a month, that is a huge steal. If you haven't done it, go for it. Another big thing is Xbox Game Pass coming to PC. Xbox, like I said, don't bombard the comments. Sony fanboy. I am a huge backer for Xbox, and I don't hate Xbox at all. If anything, I always root for them because I want them to come on top, and I want them to be a true competitor to PlayStation. And with them, with the Xbox Game Pass, with them bringing Xbox Game Pass to PC, that's such a huge advantage for them. That is something that not even PlayStation has. And that huge catalog, they're knocking it out of the park with this one again. The most hyped thing for the entire conference, in my opinion, was one, Cyberpunk 2077, Keanu Reeves being in it, and then Xbox Game Pass coming to PC and the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, a $1 deal. That's fantastic. It's unlike anything that's out there right now. And lastly, I mean, they talked a little bit about xCloud. It's a service that they're going to be introducing and previewing in October. Not quite yet, but supposedly the way it looks as if it's going to be working is that it's going to be a cloud service that's streaming straight from your console, not using a cloud server yet. We're not there yet. I'm not sure when they're going to get there, but this comes with a bigger problem to me that they missed the mark on. The day before, Google Stadia released a video talking about their service. And as of now, up to that point, no one has seen anything like that before. Google Stadia is trying to push this cloud service gaming to a whole nother level. And everyone thought, at least I thought, you know what? The only people that can compete as of right now is Xbox. And they're the big one. They're the big first party publisher, developer there. This is their moment. PlayStation's not there. This is the time that they go and they hit hard. They hit hard on PlayStation. They hit hard on Stadia. They show the gaming community that Xbox has a leg in the race. I think they missed the mark. One, their messaging was just so unclear. What does it mean that you're going to be streaming straight from your box? Are we not going to be streaming from the cloud yet? When will we be streaming from the cloud? It's all coming in October as a preview. They didn't discuss how it's going to work, the applications to a TV yet, or an application on your phone, or no one knows yet how this is going to be working. They didn't discuss it yet. Again, it could be coming in the near future, but the near future also holds Stadia. I don't think they made a strong point in their battle against Stadia at all. If anything, I think Stadia looks a bit more on top than Xbox does after this conference. All right, and lastly, they talked about Project Scarlet. This was the one that I, for the longest time, I knew they were going to be talking about it. My wish was that they were going to show it. My wish was that they were going to be that courageous and that crazy and just be like, you know what? Here's the box. They don't even need to give a price point. Here's the box. This is what it's going to be called. This is what's going to get released. That's it. But they didn't do that. And what PlayStation did in a Wire article. Xbox did on a huge stage, and if anything, it was more disappointing than at all. PlayStation coming out and doing the article with The Wire and talking about all the specifications that are going to be within the box, the PS5 box, it tempered everyone's expectations and saying that, you know what, this is not that big of a deal right now. We know the gamers don't care. All like true fans don't really care all that much as to what's in the box. All they care about is the games and what is the advantage for the next box for it. No one cares about the specifications of the chips and the graphics and all that kind of stuff. Like, let's be honest, no one really cares. PlayStation announcing what's their, their hopes and what they're aiming for with the next PS5 by announcing that in an article really just did not disappoint. If you're reading it in an article, you don't think it's going to be that big of a deal because, to be quite honest, for PlayStation, even understanding the market and understanding their fans, it isn't that big of a deal. But for Xbox to try to make this grand push on the stage and making it seem like this is that big of a deal, it made them, in my opinion, look dumb in comparison to PlayStation. Not even showing up and just announcing the same thing in an article. If anything, it disappointed fans a lot more than anything else. Before the conference, they were teasing so much about Project Scarlet, little hints here and there within sources of advertisements and stuff like that. This didn't deliver at all. The big thing is that they want to let it be known that they're setting the new bar for console power. I think the next thing, and I've said this a couple times, the next big thing is loading times. The next big thing is just how fast you can run things. I think games are at a point right now where they're actually looking really, really good. They could get better, obviously, but they're looking really, really good as it is right now. Loading times is just the big thing. It's the quality of life that I guess that they're trying to improve on. And in my opinion, I think they should have just left Project Scarlet out of it and all. Don't even talk about it. They should have not even mentioned it. They should have not even teased it. They should have just left it for next year and let the next year be the big push. All right, so the final thoughts now, and it's disappointing because I had so much hope for Xbox this time. I had so much hope. PlayStation's not there. Google Stadia is making a push. The only other group that can push back is Xbox on all fronts. So much pressure was on them, and they didn't deliver at all at any point of the entire conference. And I know that it can be said, the big push is next year. Everyone's going to be making the big push next year, which is true. But then why even show up? Why even have your presence be known? At the beginning, everyone thought PlayStation not showing up was it was dumb, was radical, was something that, like, why would you do such a thing? But after seeing this conference, it made so much sense because there's just nothing to show. No one has anything to show yet. If PlayStation was there, what are they going to show? Another teaser for Death Stranding, another teaser for The Last of Us, another teaser for Ghost of Tsushima. We're all going to get tired of seeing the same things. So it's smart for PlayStation to make the move. You know what? We're not going to be present. We're going to stay silent. And next year, we're going to make the huge push with even more added upon it, I'm sure. Teasing PS5. Teasing even the next-gen console games that are going to be coming out very soon. And I know that's what Xbox is going to be doing next year. Their next E3, whether PlayStation's there or not, they're going to be talking about Project Scarlet and whatever their real name is. They're going to be showing off Halo Infinite because it'll be coming out half a year later in the holiday of 2020. They're going to be showing more games that are going to be announced on the console. Like, their big pushes next year. All the studios that they acquired are probably going to be showing off some games that they have been working on that may be coming out that year or the year following. It's hard because if they weren't going to show up, who would have shown up? E3 would have been really, really dead. You could say that they felt pressured and like they're the only ones they have to be there. In the end, I think they disappointed. And I think they probably knew that's what they were going to do. They must have known that they were not going to have the greatest conference of E3. And they just had to bite the bullet and then hold on for next year. I was hoping that they had some surprises in their back pocket, but they had nothing at all. Everything now is all bets are on 2020. 2020 is the big one. The two behemoths of video games are going to be behind they're behind the scenes right now. They're prepping everything for next year already. I guarantee it. PlayStation is already planning this is going to be the greatest year next year. It's going to be the big one. Xbox, the next one. Next year is going to be the big one. 2020, do not sleep on 2020, dude. It's going to be a huge, huge year for video games. All right, guys, if you liked that video, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And in the comments down below, let me know, did you like this year's E3? I was very disappointed in all. If anything, out of all the E3s I've seen, this is the most disappointing. But it's because it's kind of like the quiet before the storm, because next year, the hurricane's coming. The big splash is coming. So now we just have to wait another year until then. And until next time, guys, I'm Rob. This is Video Game Therapy. See you guys next time. Peace.